with Dylan Barrero arriving to join the group? I know he's a young player making a pretty big move professionally and personally. So what kind of adjustment process do you imagine for Dylan over the next weeks and months?
Well, I think we need to wait and see with everything. He hasn't even arrived at our club yet. Once he get in here physically, and we see how he adjusts, we'll make up a plan. But right now, we don't have a plan.
Next, we'll go to Tom Quinlan from WPRO. He'll be followed by Jamie Rook. Tom, you're unmuted now.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Do you worry about player safety over these next couple of games here? It's a really tough stretch coming up, and these next two games between the Open Cup and league play, you're playing on some surfaces that have been in the news recently. Miles Robinson tearing his Achilles with Atlanta last week, and then you're going to be playing at a college stadium on top of a parking lot.
Right, that's after the Cincinnati game.
That's after the season,
Right.
But still,
So they're blaming Miles Robinson's injury on the field in Atlanta?
No, I'm just saying players in the past have complained about Atlanta's turf.
Well, they have a new turf this year, so we'll be interested in seeing what it's like. But they have a new turf. We play on an artificial field, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing new. Then we go to Cincinnati on Saturday, and then to New York on that following Wednesday, and then back home. It's all part of it. It's not really a whole lot different. The last week of that, when we play Cincinnati, New York City, and Philadelphia, certainly will be challenging.
Next, we'll go to Jamie Rook from Last Word on Sports. He'll be followed up by Rich Thompson. Jamie, you're unmuted now.
Hiya, Bruce. From your analysis of Atlanta, where do you think they're at their best, and where do you think you have the upper hand?
Atlanta's had a decent start to the season. They're ahead of us. They've unfortunately suffered some injuries along the way over the last 3 weeks or so with Guzan and Robinson, which is unfortunate. And then I know Alonso and Martinez at some point were injured as well. So those things are difficult, but they recruit well, and they have a good group of players that'll be on the field. Perhaps their depth will not be as great as it's been, obviously because of the injuries, but they still have a good starting team, some good attacking players. Their striker, if I'm not mistaken, had a bunch of goals last week. So, I'm not feeling sorry for them. I think they have a pretty good team, and we have to go there and play very well to try to bring home some points.
Next, we'll go to Rich Thompson from the Boston Herald. Rich, you're unmuted now.
Thank you. Hi, Bruce. I was actually going to ask about that striker. It's Ronaldo Cisneros. He had 3 goals the other night. He looks like a very dynamic player. Have you gotten a look at him?
I personally haven't seen him yet. I haven't looked at the film of Atlanta, which I'm going to do later today, since we had just played on Wednesday night. But from all I'm told, he is a good player.
Let's take 2 more questions. First, we'll go to Jeff Lemieux, and then we'll finish up with Tom Quinlan. Jeff, you're unmuted now.
Bruce, Adam Book's obviously on a pretty good run of goal-scoring form right now with 6 in the last 5, and 5 of those were with his head. So just what does it do for the group when you have an aerial presence like Adam, not just in the box, but when he can also kind of play through in the build-up?
Well, obviously he's dangerous in front of the goals. I'm sure he leads the league in goals with his head. It's another option in the attack. We can play on the ground. We can play in the air. When we're under pressure from our defensive end of the field, we can utilize Adam as a target player, both with his feet and in the air. So that's a real positive.
Our last question, we'll go to Tom Quinlan. Tom, you're unmuted now.
Petrovic got his first full 90 minutes with your normal back 4. Just what are your thoughts on his debut with them?
He did fine. Unfortunately, the early goal was certainly difficult for him. We made him a few mistakes in the back line, but I think although he wasn't pressured a whole lot, he had to make a pretty good save at the end of the game off of their number 19. He did very well. And for the most part, I think it's important that he got in a full game in our stadium, and I'm sure he was a little bit anxious. So every minute he gets is very important. So I think the end result of the game on Wednesday was a real positive.